I'm back home recording this episode from my office after, if you listened to last week's episode, you know that it was a week of chaos and I wasn't home. I had to go take care of my mom, all the things. And this week is a much more settled week. Had a birthday yesterday and just kind of getting back into the routine of things. And there's something that I've been thinking quite a lot about because I keep seeing it show up in so many of the conversations that I'm having. And I think this is something that doesn't get talked about enough. I'm seeing a shift over the last few years. I have been doing this business now with women's weight loss and wealth for um, women's weight loss and wellness. I mean, wealth too, I guess. There's wealth and health, right? So, what I meant to say was this has been over 10 years now. At first, I was doing it part-time. You know that in 2020, I launched my full-time business. And I've seen a shift in this entire environment. And what I mean by that is a lot of times in the early years of me doing this business, women didn't really know what to do. They really were misinformed and they just didn't know where to start. They didn't have really any idea, in large part, and I know these are like huge sweeping generalizations, but they didn't have an idea of what healthy eating actually looked like, on and on and on. And as I have seen more awareness around this transitional phase of perimenopause and menopause, what I've seen is that now in conversations, it's not so much that women don't know what to do at all anymore. That's not actually the problem. The women I talk to, like always, they're smart, they're successful, they read articles, they've tried a lot of different programs, they've tracked macros, they've changed their workouts. So they're not so much confused in some ways. They're definitely not lazy, but they're still kind of stuck in this rut of not getting anywhere. And I think that's the part that messes with you the most. Understandably, that's the part that messes with you the most because it's like I'm informed, right? And I'm even putting in the effort. A lot of the women I talk to are not just informed, but they have done a lot of the work too. And so it kind of messes with you more when you do feel informed and educated about the issue, when you do put the effort in, you've put the work in, sometimes over and over and over, and you're capable. Like you're successful in all the other areas of your life. So you know you're capable. You expect that if you just apply yourself, you will figure it out like you have figured out most everything else in your life. And so when that doesn't happen, you start to question everything, not just the tactics that you're trying, not just the diet that you bought or the workouts that you subscribed to or the gym membership or the trainer who you hired. You start to question everything, including yourself. And maybe that part is not necessarily out loud, if you will. When I talk about you questioning yourself, what that looks like a lot of times is like this internal sort of questioning, like, what am I missing? Why can't I get this to stick? Why do I keep getting back to square one? Why do I end up back here all the time, right? And what most women do at that point is they go searching for the next thing, the next tactic, the next diet, the next supplement, a better diet, a better plan, a better way to stay consistent. And here's the issue with that. You are trying to solve a problem with tactics. It's not a tactical problem. And so trying to solve it with a new set of tactics is just going to keep you stuck in that same old rut because the pattern isn't random. It's actually a very predictable in many ways, bear with me. It's a very predictable pattern. You'll have a stretch where things feel like it's kind of clicking, right? You're paying attention, you're aware, you are making better choices, you feel a little more in control again, and you're looking for the safety of control. And then when life kind of picks up, when life, what I say is, I tell my clients, when life be life, right? Work maybe gets a little heavier. Something stressful hits, whether it's professional or personal. Schedules tighten up. And instead of adjusting, you kind of drop off just enough to cope, to manage, to deal with things. Not completely, you don't go off the rails, but you drop off just enough. And then a few days later, you think, okay, I need to get back to it. So you do until the next thing comes around and life gets a little loud again. And then this whole thing becomes a cycle that looks like effort, but never actually becomes a result. Sound familiar? Yeah. So here's where I think this whole conversation just kind of falls short. It stops too early because it's easy to say, well, that's a consistency problem. You're being inconsistent. But it's not that. It's not just a consistency problem. It is a comprehensive strategy problem, right? Remember, I said you were employing tactics and then you would fall off just a little bit, get back on, fall off just a little bit. And now I'm telling you, it's not tactical and it's not inconsistency. It is a comprehensive strategy problem because if your approach only works when life is calm, when life is even keel, easy peasy, then your approach doesn't work. And most women, most of you, you've built your approach, you've built your entire health approach around ideal conditions, ideal timing, ideal energy levels, ideal focus, ideal motivation that you feel. And things in life don't exist that way. So every time life gets a little fuller, a little louder, a little more chaotic, the entire thing falls apart on you. And it's not about you failing, but it's about the structure that you were trying to use, and that structure is not built to last. It's not built to hold in a real life. I don't work with women who are independently wealthy and sit around on their asses all day. It's not like that. It's not like that in our lives, right? And so you have to have a comprehensive structure that's built to hold in a real life that you live. Loud, chaotic, stressful, ever changing. And so the tactical approach you're taking doesn't continue to stay tight and it doesn't hold on in a life that you lead. So when you don't see that, when you don't understand that, you don't see it clearly, you make it mean something about you. You think, I've got to get back on track. I have to yank this train back on the tracks. I have to be more disciplined. So you try again and you try to be stricter, you try harder, and then the cycle repeats. And now, bear with me because it's even more complicated. Now, with all of that going on, let's layer on the midlife transition, perimenopause, your body being less forgiving, your margin for error being smaller, your recovery and sleep being different. So, the same inconsistent pattern that maybe you could get away with a little bit before now actually has pretty severe consequences. And that's where women start to feel like nothing is working anymore. And the reality is it's really not that nothing is working. It's that what you're doing is not designed for the life, the body that you have now, the metabolism that you have now, and the life that you actually have now. It's not designed for that. And so that's a very different problem to solve than what you're thinking about it in terms of what the problem is, right? Because now we're not talking about like what diet should you follow. That's not the question. What we're talking about now is the question of what approach actually holds when life is full, loud, chaotic, and very full. What works when you're stressed? What works when your schedule gets super tight, even tighter than normal tight? What works when you don't feel like doing it? That's the conversation that most women have never actually been walked through. And until you solve for that, you can keep trying different tactics, different things forever, and you will still wind up in the same place. So if you feel like I know what to do, but I can't get it to stick, I want you to stop making that mean something about your discipline or your lack of discipline and start looking for the structure that you're actually trying to follow because that's where the real issue is. And once you see that for what it is, then everything changes because you stop chasing the next plan and you start actually solving the right problem, the one you actually have. I hope that lands. I hope that makes sense for you today. It's something I've been thinking a lot about. And I felt like we've got to get down to the nitty-gritty and not just talk about like things that don't work and things that do work. We've got to start talking about like why. Why is it that you're in this place where nothing feels like it works? What is actually going on? And what I just shared with you is a huge part of that. So I appreciate you spending time with me. I hope this was helpful. As always, when you listen to this, shoot me a message and let me know how it lands for you. Maybe you see the link to this episode in our free total wellness group on Facebook. Maybe you see it in a post that I share. Maybe you got the link to this episode in email. Wherever it is that I sent this to you and you listen to it, just reply there. Let me know what your thoughts are. And you can always message me like in instant messenger on Facebook or in DMs on um, Instagram. And you can always use the link in the show notes and send me an email. I'm all ears. Thanks for being here this afternoon or whatever time it is while you're listening. Thanks for being here with me this week, and I'll see you right back here next time.